Welcome in, everybody, to Betting Pros. It's time to place your bets. It is me, Joey P. Joe Pizzapia with me every single Monday, our good pal Scott Bogman, to break down the Monday Night Football game between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New Orleans Saints. And Bogman's a little under the weather today. So we're going to keep this one brief because we want to make sure that the cold medicine doesn't wear off in the middle of the show. We don't want you passing out, none of that stuff. So, Boggs, let's get to the meat and potatoes of the action here. And congratulations, by the way, on a nice Steeler win.
Ooh, I'll take it.
I hated week 13. It sucked for a lot of reasons in my investments and things. It was not good. Did not like it. My investment in the 49ers, too, went down with Jimmy Garoppolo's broken foot, too. I don't like that. So, I am grateful that we have one game left here, and I am done with week 13. I want to turn the page. Let's start talking about this game here. The Buccaneers, as we know, and Tom Brady specifically, have struggled against the New Orleans Saints. For whatever reason, different incarnations of this Saints team seem to give Tom Brady and the Bucs fits, even when the Bucs were at their best. And the Bucs have not been in their best. They're 5-6. The New Orleans Saints are 4-8. Bucs are still, regardless, at home 3-point favorites in this one. 41 is the over/under, plus 154 on the money line if you like New Orleans to win outright. So, Boggs, what does this line mean to you today?
It means I hate it because I like the Bucs in this game, and the Saints give them issues. I understand that. And really, this is, any divisional game, you can kind of say, throw out the records. These two teams hate each other, blah, blah, blah. But we've seen Mike Evans and Marshawn Lattimore get kicked out of this game multiple times, right? These teams legit do not like each other at all. For me, I'm going to be on the Bucs in this game. I just do not like what the Saints have done this season. They haven't looked right. They're going, they're transitioning with the quarterback and then with the new coach and all that stuff too. So, for me, this game, I'm going to take Tampa Bay because they're the home team. The total I wouldn't touch. Gun to my head, I'll take the under because neither one of these offenses have been clicking really. So, with all of that said, the Saints will win and the game will go over. But for me, I like Tampa Bay and the under just in terms of betting this, the game lines here.
You know what? The way these offenses have been, I don't hate the under for this game. I really don't. I wish it was more like, I don't know, 42.5, like the 41. Like if you can go find that in a different spot, I think it's worth investigating that. And in some spots you can go find some others, but really the consensus right now. Yeah, you can get some alternate lines in there, but the 41 is as close as you can get there. 41.5 you can get at FanDuel. I would push that envelope, but really you're looking at some spots even having it down as low as 40. So 41 is the consensus where most books have it right now. But I'm with you, man. This is always one of those tough games. I'm on the Saints side of this one. And again, I keep saying this, and I've said it every week, and so far,
you were right last week too.
Haven't been wrong in a lot of these. Let's just go straight in, straight into the New Orleans Saints on the money line at plus money. And I think if you do that again, I don't think you put a big wager on this. This is like if you're just talking,
this is not your makeup game. Yeah,
no, it's not. Good. That's a great way to frame this game tonight. Yeah. A lot of people looked at Monday night for the makeup game. This ain't it. This is like the ex-girlfriend where you go back to again and you just get burned a second time. That's it.
Yeah. So the third time, you know why you're going back. Keep your eye on the prize and get out of there when you're done. That's what we're saying.
There you go. There you have it. Now, in this game, Juwan Johnson ruled out for Monday with the ankle injury. Marshawn Lattimore with the abdomen is questionable. This has a huge impact because we're going to talk about some of these props later on. You're seeing the number around 60 for Mike Evans receiving yards. I would be pouncing on that under now before we get any clarity because I'm concerned that it comes off the board with a different number much lower if we get Lattimore news in the next hour or two. What do you think about that?
Yeah, look, Mike Evans has been bad anyway, so It's not like this guy's been tearing it up and all of a sudden we're going to take him to have the under. I think even if Marshawn Lattimore doesn't play, the under has been pretty safe for him recently. Corners for the Saints are bad. Paulson Adebo doesn't rank very well. It's been rough trying to replace Lattimore. So I think for me, it's going to be Godwin if we're picking somebody to go nuts in this game because he has been going
62.5 is a pretty big number for Mike Evans anyway.
Yeah.
Which I keep coming back to.
Mike Evans, he can get that total at any time. He's a big play guy. but when he's not getting big plays recently, he has not been a 5 for 65 guy or a 7 for 65 guy. He's been a 2 for 14, a 2 for 35 guy, which sucks. We don't want that. We're definitely not betting on it.
No, and look, like I said, it's 62.5 right now on FanDuel. I could definitely see a world where if Lattimore is a go, that number changes. It's going to come down and change, and it could be 59.5. I'm telling you, it's gonna be different. And I'd rather just lock it in now and take that chance. Like that's one of those things. Like, okay, if you want to make up some money, that's kind of a good way to make it up. I feel like you can at least get back a little bit there
for sure.
on that. I've already put down money on it. So once again, as always, my money's where my mouth is here on the show. Not like a lot of other shows that talk a lot of nonsense, but don't actually care to make the wagers along with you. Now let's get to some of the props here on the board that you've got, Bogman, because Bogman likes to pick out his favorite. Let's start with Godwin. You've got one. You talked about him having monster game potential here. Anytime touchdown plus 175. You're on this bad boy today.
Yeah, I mean, he only has 2 touchdowns, I think, on the season, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yes, but they've been recent.
The last 2 weeks. Yeah, exactly. So Chris Godwin, at the beginning of the year, he's kind of gimpy, not quite back. Got hurt early and then kind of worked his way back. But the last couple of weeks, he has looked dominant, like the Chris Godwin that we know and love. And this is the one that this is a game where they need him. They need him to come through. Mike Evans has been less than stellar. It's a tough matchup for him anyway. So plus 175, I think those are good odds. The running back's a little bit less than that, but I think I'd rather go out on a limb and try to, this is almost doubling up your money. So I think Chris Godwin could easily get in the end zone today. Would not be shocked.
All right, next one on the list here, Andy Dalton under 210.5 passing yards, and you get plus money on this at plus 110. Let's talk about Andy Dalton, and right now, what's a pretty underwhelming offense, I would say, all year for the New Orleans Saints. And I know, Michael Thomas got injured. I know Alvin Kamara is starting to show some of the age, I think, a little bit too, which is not surprising. He's a 6th year in the league. This is what happens. I mean, it's the same thing that's happened to Zeke, same thing happens in most running backs, even the great ones. It's very rare. Once a generation, you get the Adrian Petersons of the world.
Sure.
Play far beyond what you think they can.
Right. Derrick Henry. Yeah.
Right. But honestly, like Derrick Henry's still good. I mean, he ain't looking so hot right now. This is supposed to be the season. Well, usually from Thanksgiving to New Year's is Derrick Henry season, where everybody's tired and doesn't want to tackle him and he's running over people. Has not been the case. I know game script kind of got in the way. That's a tricky thing, but still, I'm waiting to see it. But let's talk about Andy Dalton in this number 2. Why do you feel good about this one tonight?
Yeah, because Andy Dalton sucks, and they keep going with him. And the Bucs are 5th against the pass in the NFL. So no Jawan Johnson. So there's no safety blanket for him either. I know game script. This is why you get him plus money, because game script says that the Saints are going to be losing and trying to play from behind the 3rd and 4th quarter and all that stuff. I just don't know if he has enough passing yards up into the 3rd and 4th quarter for it to matter. So I'll take the under on this. I don't generally like taking the under on things, the old saying, Joe, as we say every time. I think every week we've done this. Life's too short to bet the under, but life's too short to throw money away. So let's bet on the under on Andy Dalton's passing yards here.
I went right to the under for Mike Evans as soon as I could find it. That's what I was doing.
The glass is half empty. That's right.
Here's a fun one from Fryman. I wish I could bet on the number of flags that Brady gets per game. There you go. I like this.
There's a reason we can't bet that number.
That's the over.
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Speaking of life's too short to bet the under.
Well, there you go. All right, let's go to another one here. You have on the docket Rashad White, 40.5 rushing yards, minus 115. You like the over on this one. So just for, to catch everybody up in case they need to, Leonard Fournette with the hip is still officially questionable. There's allusions to he's going to play, but to what end? And I think that's the interesting part here. You saw Rashad White work a ton in the passing game last few weeks too. So do you think that you want to stick with this 40.5 in the rushing, or do you want to put this together with something like the all-purpose Rashad White yards, or you really want to focus in on the rushing specifically?
No, I want to focus in on the rushing specifically, because he has started the last 2 games. He started the Germany game, and the last 2 games that he's played, 105 rushing yards and 64 rushing yards. So even if Fournette does play, He's going to be less than 100%. I think this is closer to a 70-30 split this week, when most weeks it will be 50-50. And I think people are getting into this Rashad White is a RB1 moving forward and blah, blah, blah. I don't think so. I think they're going to split. I think you're seeing this because Fournette has been somewhat ineffective, but I don't think they're going to just take the job away from him. Brady loves him. So because Fournette might get mainly passing downs in this game, because he's going to be probably a part-time player here because he's just coming back off his injury and all that stuff. That's why I don't want to mess with the combined yards. That's why I'd rather just take the rushing yards for Rashad White. Even though he had like 9 catches in his last game, he was outstanding, but that was with no Fournette. So give me the over 40.5. I think the Saints are 22nd in the league against the rush. They're not great. So I think that this is easily a doable job. And, I know they lost Tristan Wirfs, but Josh Wells, pretty good run grader, replacing him. So I think Rashad White will be safe and hit this total fairly early.
Okay, I'm going to try to confirm here a little Marshawn Lattimore news that he might not be playing today. It's not that I don't trust you in the chat. I know that
we've got before, though.
Yes, we've got before. You can't do this to us. So I'm going to continue to search on that. In the meantime, let's talk about another prop on the list. Alvin Kamara, 29.5 receiving yards, minus 115. Or you've also got the 49.5 rushing yards, if you like that one too. If you want to go under on one, over on the other. How do you see these two parsing out?
This is kind of, how do you feel on this one? Kamara has gone over 29.5 receiving yards in 6 of his last 8 games. But in the last 6 games for the Saints, Kamara has rushed for over 50 yards only once. So they're putting together nothing in the run game right now. Just the blocking and scheming has been terrible for it. So they're replacing that with short dump offs for Alvin Kamara. And it's been working for him in terms of total yards. But when you're looking at props in rushing versus receiving specifically, I think this receiving number is way easier. I think these numbers should be flipped, to be honest with you. I think the receiving yards should be about 49.5 for him, and the rushing should be 29.5 because he's been doing one and not the other. So either way, if you want to feel negative and you want to go under 49.5 rushing, I get it. But if you want to feel positive and go over on the receiving yards, it's 30 for Alvin Kamara is 2 catches, so it could be 2 catches. So
right, sure. It could be 1 catch.
Yeah, it could be 1 catch for him for sure. So I just think that the receiving one is more doable. It's what they've been doing recently. It's what the game script has had. And if they are going to be down, which the spread says so, they're going to be passing the ball late. And I just think there's an opportunity for him to smash that receiving line. So now I always like to give myself room to go over.
Sure.
I like picking overs more than unders. So we'll go over on that one.
Now I can confirm now through sources here on the internets with all kinds of fancy check marks. But you know what? I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to give Luke all the credit because Luke broke it to us. Luke, NFL insider, Luke Sayer. Lattimore's not playing. News just broke. There you go. So, Luke, I'm going to give you all the credit.
Buy yourself a check mark, Luke. You're the guy now.
There you go. Just go buy yourself a check mark. Just like that. You're a real person.
I don't think you can do it anymore. Can you still do it?
Oh, of course you can. He wants money from you. It's also confirmed, by the way, by Sarah Walsh and a few other people from NFL Network I'm seeing now. So there you go. Now, look, honestly, I'm still in on the under in the 62.5 with Mike Evans. Because I'll tell you what, and I'll tell you why I'm still on it. He's been bad. Godwin's been good. Julio's back around too. There's options here. So I think.
And now Fournette and Rashad White catching the ball out of the backfield too.
Yeah, agreed. And more options there too. Now, let's circle back with that news too, because obviously I just want to make sure, does that have any impact on anything we did at the top of the show for people joining us a little late here?
No, I don't think so. I honestly, my thought process was Lattimore probably wasn't going to play anyway. I
didn't think so. Look, I thought he was going to, just because it was Mike Evans and he was going to get up just for this. Because think about it too, from this standpoint, if you're the New Orleans Saints, you beat the Bucs, you are in the thick of this division. You're right there. Yeah. So I thought he actually was going to play because that tells you how banged up Lattimore is, that he is not playing in this game. But to me, this was like, look, we're all in on this game.
And the downgrade
is why I like
so
New Orleans on the money line, because New Orleans, this is their season. They're playing for it. I feel like if the Bucs lose this game, Next week they're still gonna have another shot. They're gonna keep having shots, but I feel like New Orleans, this is their
It's
moment
way
here
more
to climb it.
desperation.
Way more desperate.
For the Saints. And yeah, it's Bradley Roby. By the way, you look at these PFF grades, dude. The safeties are actually good, obviously.
Mhm.
You know, Tyrann Mathieu ranks 10th out of 88 safeties. Marcus May is, you know, over 50%. He's 40, but he's better than average. The corners, there are 119 corners graded on PFF, Joe. The corners for the Saints right here. 105, 104, and 109. That's the three starters in this game. That's Roby, Harris, and Adebo. So it's ugly right now.
There you go. Let's get to
still
the
taking
defense.
the under on everyone. Under on everyone, Joe. And the
under everywhere. Look, I'm still thinking on Evans because there's so many options here.
Yeah.
Like I'm very leery of the Bucs offense because it's very hard to peg down recently. And with Fournette coming back, it's even harder. So therefore, once again, more options.
Mike Evans is not 100%. That's all.
He's also, I think, another guy that's starting to show the age a little bit. And he's a Hall of Fame player. I want to give Mike Evans a lot of credit. Mike Evans is a Hall of Fame player, in my opinion. He has been incredibly consistent with a lot of inconsistent quarterback play. He's a great player. He's a great receiver. A lot of guys have had the run that he's had in the NFL with some of the quarterbacks he's played with. It's only at the end of his career that he's played with Tom Brady. So I want to give that guy a shout out and credit, but I think we're starting to see him at the end of the line a bit. We like to talk defense here on the show between Scott Bogman and myself. And Bogman's been pretty good here. Again, sometime a little cardiac kid here. Usually it's the last play of the game or the fourth quarter.
Alex Highsmith got his sack last week. The second to last offensive play for the Colts, forced the fumble too. It was outstanding. We'll take it, man. They have to sweat it out, but we'll take it.
But there's another one that you might have to be sweating here into the fourth quarter. You have 7.5 tackles here for Devin White. You have the over and plus 100. That's a pretty good number on this one.
Yeah, even money. Like we'll take even money on a tackle prop because most of the tackle props are either like, hey, this guy's going to get 9 tackles, but it's plus 200 because his season high is 6, or, it's going to be minus 150 because a guy's definitely going to hit this total. Devin White, even though he's playing bad and he grades terrible and all that stuff, I understand that he's not a good linebacker. But in terms of stats, 7 of his 11 games, he has hit this total. So I think this is
why we always talk about this on
total too.
Look, Bogman and I do the IDP show here, the individual defensive players podcast, right? Where we're talking about those things. It's like, look, some of the best IDP guys are some guys that aren't necessarily playing the best defensive football. They're getting picked on, and Devin White's still an undersized guy. He's going to get picked on a little bit in this game, and he's going to be out there
in the middle of the defense. He's a middle linebacker. He stacks tackles, so he should get 7.5 tackles. I would say tackles plus assists. That's not just solos. So tackles plus assists. You're getting the plus 100 too. I like that. All right, because we're a show of the people too. I know somebody had a question about Chris Olave in this game too. 62.5 receiving yards is the number for him. I'm not touching anything with Jarvis Landry or anything else. If you look at the game log here, he's been, 102, 62, 40, 71, 52, 106. I mean, it's been a bit up and down. I'm personally about the perfect number for him.
It's a perfect number. Therefore, I'm staying away because it's not a matchup I feel like I'm all of a sudden exploiting. And if you're looking at it here, the projections at 57.1, you're getting minus 115 on that. I don't love that. Personally, I'd stay away from that. If I'm going to go anything in the receiving realm of stuff, I think the one thing maybe you want to look at too is the receptions number on Chris Godwin. It's 7.5. I think this is something that is a lock. If you want to start, again, don't love the parlays, but if you want to start one, I think you're going to get 7.5 receptions here from Chris Godwin in this game. Start with that. Maybe add in some of the things Bogman was talking about. You want to take the under on Mike Evans too, write some narratives too. But I think it's also wise. I want to warn everybody to stay away from the Rashad White Fournette stuff a bit. Like, we really don't know the answer of what that's going to be. I think Bogman was very astute, kind of picking it out, saying what it was going to be. But I think that you want to just be careful. I think the Rashad White 40.5 is a give me. I think that's an easy number, 40.5. After that, I think you stay away from Fournette altogether because you just don't know it. If anything, you're taking unders if you can, but the numbers aren't great to begin with.
Fournette, I'm not touching at all whatsoever. I understand that. And that's why I said I didn't want the total number for White either, because maybe Fournette is just using the passing game because they're trying to ease him back. I don't know.
On
So
DK, by the way, for rushing yards on Rashad White, you can get him, and I'm looking over at bettingpros.com, 38.5. Go lock that number in over the 40 if you can.
so that it lowered because I looked at it 2
Mhm.
hours ago and it was 40.5 or whatever.
Yeah,
that
now
I
it's
had.
38.5. It's just changed. So lots of
Ooh, I
moving
like
parts
that.
here. That's even better. And this is the whole thing too. Now, people are saying, okay, Lattimore's out. Maybe we're going to run the football less. I don't think that's the case. I don't think they're going to run the football less. I think they kind of need to do this. I think Tom Brady, I've always said this for years and years. This is coming from a Patriots fan who's watched more Tom Brady than anybody ever. And I watched him at Michigan. Tom Brady running off the play action is the Tom Brady you want. And the only way you do that is to set up the run. So you got to establish that early in the game. It's one of the things this year they got away from early on, and it really hurt them in those games early on. Get back to basics, run the play action, establish the run, and then you have a better situation there. Boggs, I know you're under the weather, so we're going to call it a day. But look,
Thank
I
you.
love everybody watching the show live today. Shout out to all of you. And of course, to Luke as well. Breaking news here, Insider.
Breaking news. Luke.
Big Ben's here in the chat. We've got Mona in the chat. Got a lot of folks here today, so we appreciate you hanging out with us. Again, go to bettingpros.com. Check out the prop bet cheat sheet and all the great content. And don't forget to like this video. Like it right now before you leave, and subscribe to Betting Pros over on the YouTube side too. Just click that little bell till it goes ding. Like the stream, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate all of you. Enjoy Monday Night Football. Don't go crazy. Be calculated tonight.
Yeah.
Like Bogman and I said, this is not the makeup game. This is the try not to make it worse game. You like that? There you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
And look, Luke Sayer,
Insider.
Boom. There it is. There it is. Get you going, baby. All right. That'll do it for us. But the story, the game goes on. For Scott Bogman, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.